How many times have you said to yourself, "I'll start learning when I feel more motivated. I'll pick up that book when I have more time. I'll invest in myself someday." But here's the truth. Someday never comes. The most successful people in the world aren't smarter than you. They don't have more hours in the day. They simply made one decision that changed everything. They chose to learn every single day. In this powerful introduction to the audiobook Educate Yourself Every Day, you're about to discover why waiting for the perfect moment is holding you back, why real education never ends, and how just 15 minutes of focused learning each day can change the course of your life. You see, education isn't something that only happens in classrooms or during your school years. It's not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle, a habit, a mindset. And those who master it, those who commit to learning daily, end up miles ahead of everyone else. So ask yourself, are you still waiting for the right time? Or are you ready to start building the future you deserve, starting today? Press play and begin your journey toward lifelong success through daily learning. Chapter 1. You are not special. You're not too busy, too tired, or too old. Everyone has 24 hours. Most people waste theirs on distractions. Your life won't change unless you put in the work daily. Accept that now. The myth of being special. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're unique, gifted, and destined for greatness. While there is truth in the idea that every person has value and potential, there's also a dangerous misconception lurking beneath that message. The belief that because we are special, success should come easier to us, or that our circumstances make us exceptions to the rules of hard work and discipline. But here's the hard truth: you are not special, not in the way you think. And neither is anyone else. What does that mean? It means that no matter how intelligent, talented, or driven you are still subject to the same laws of effort, time, and consistency as everyone else. There are no shortcuts. There is no magic formula. If you want to grow, learn, and succeed, you must do what everyone else must do: show up, do the work, and keep going every single day. Everyone has 24 hours. One of the most common excuses people use to avoid learning and improving themselves is, "I don't have time." But the reality is, everyone has exactly the same amount of time, 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. The difference isn't in how much time we have, but in how we choose to use it. Think about your average day. How many hours do you spend scrolling through social media, watching TV, or engaging in mindless distractions? These habits eat away at your time without giving anything meaningful in return. And while it's fine to relax occasionally, the problem comes when distraction becomes the default rather than the exception. Successful people aren't successful because they have more time, they're successful because they protect their time. They prioritize growth, focus on progress, and eliminate unnecessary noise from their lives. They understand that time is the most valuable asset they have, and once it's gone forever. So if you want to start changing your life, stop making excuses. Stop telling yourself that you're too busy or that your schedule is too packed. Look honestly at how you're spending your time and ask yourself, is this helping me grow? Is this moving me closer to who I want to be? If not, it's time to make a change. Your life won't change unless you put in the work daily. There's a myth out there that big results come from big efforts done once in a while, a dramatic transformation after a motivational weekend, or a sudden breakthrough after one intense push. But real change doesn't happen like that. Real change happens quietly, steadily, and consistently. It happens when you read just a few pages every night. When you take a short online course during your lunch break. When you reflect on your mistakes instead of brushing them aside. When you choose to learn something new even when you don't feel like it. This kind of daily work may seem small, almost insignificant in the moment. But over weeks, months, and years, it compounds into massive results. That's the power of habit, especially the habit of learning every single day. No one wakes up one morning suddenly fluent in a language, an expert in a skill, or a leader in their field. Those achievements are built through repetition, persistence, and commitment. The person who becomes great isn't necessarily smarter or luckier than anyone else. They're simply the one who keeps showing up, day after day, doing the work when others give up. If you want to see real, lasting change in your life, you must accept this truth: there is no substitute for consistent effort. No shortcut around it. No way around it. You either commit to the daily grind of learning and self-improvement, or you remain stuck where you are. Accept that now. This chapter isn't meant to discourage you, it's meant to wake you up. To strip away the illusions and excuses that hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself. You are not too busy. You are not too tired. You are not too old. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to start today. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to begin. And not just to begin once, but to begin again and again, every single day. So stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop believing that you're somehow different enough that the rules of success don't apply to you. They do. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can start building the life you truly want, one day of learning at a time. Chapter 2, Education ends, learning never does. School ends at graduation. Real learning starts after. Degrees don't guarantee success, consistent self-education does. If you stop learning, you stop growing. It's that simple. The end of school is just the beginning. For most people, education follows a predictable path: elementary school, middle school, high school, maybe college or vocational training, and then it stops. You receive your diploma or degree, and society considers you educated. But this narrow view of education misses the bigger picture. Formal education is important. It gives you foundational knowledge, structure, and often, opportunities. But it is only the beginning. The real education, the one that shapes your life and determines your future, doesn't end with a ceremony or a handshake. It continues every day through curiosity, exploration, and the willingness to grow. Think about it. When was the last time someone told you, you've learned enough? You can stop now? Probably never. That's because true learning has no end point. It's not something you finish, it's something you live. Degrees don't guarantee success, consistent self-education does. Let's be honest, a degree alone won't carry you through life. In today's fast-changing world, industries evolve, technology advances, and job markets shift faster than any university curriculum can keep up. A 4-year degree may get your foot in the door, but what keeps you moving forward is your ability to keep learning. Many people graduate with honors, land their dream job, and then stop learning. They coast on what they already know, assuming their education has prepared them for everything ahead. But the world doesn't stand still, and neither should you. On the other hand, people who continue learning after school, through books, online courses, mentors, workshops, and real-life experiences, are the ones who rise above the rest. They adapt quickly, solve problems creatively, and stay relevant in a constantly shifting landscape. Their success isn't tied to a piece of paper, it's tied to their mindset. Your degree might open doors, but your daily learning will help you walk through them confidently and build something meaningful on the other side. If you stop learning, you stop growing. Growth and learning are inseparable. When you learn new things, you expand your thinking, improve your skills, and gain new perspectives. You become more capable, more adaptable, and more valuable, not just professionally, but personally as well. But the opposite is also true. If you stop learning, your growth stagnates. Your skills become outdated, your thinking becomes rigid, and your potential remains unrealized. You start falling behind without even realizing it. This applies not just to careers, but to relationships, health, happiness, and every area of life. The person who reads widely, asks questions, and seeks understanding becomes wiser. The person who refuses to challenge their beliefs becomes stuck. The person who learns from failure grows stronger. The person who avoids learning stays small. So ask yourself, are you growing? Or have you allowed your education to define the limits of your learning? Make learning a lifelong habit. If learning is the key to growth, and growth is the key to success, then the conclusion is clear: you must make learning a daily habit. Not something you do when you have time. Not something you return to only when you need a promotion or a new job. But something you do every single day, like brushing your teeth or eating meals. It doesn't have to be dramatic or overwhelming. Read a few pages of a book. Listen to a podcast during your commute. Take an online course on a subject that interests you. Reflect on your experiences and extract lessons from them. Talk to people who challenge your thinking. Write down what you're learning and how you'll apply it. These small actions compound over time. What seems insignificant today will become transformational tomorrow. And remember, there is no age limit on learning. No deadline. No point where you've learned enough. Whether you're 18 or 80, whether you graduated yesterday or decades ago, the journey of learning is always open to you. All it requires is your commitment. Keep going. Education may end at graduation, but learning is a lifetime journey. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing, and the moment you stop growing is the moment you begin to fall behind. Don't let your formal education be the peak of your learning. Let it be the foundation. Build upon it every day with curiosity, discipline, and purpose. Because success doesn't belong to the most talented or the most privileged. It belongs to those who keep learning, long after school is over. And that's a choice you can make today. And every day after. Chapter 3: Why most people don't learn daily. People don't educate themselves daily because it's hard and uncomfortable. They'd rather scroll, binge, or complain. Discipline is rare. That's why most people stay stuck. The truth about learning: it's not always fun. Learning new things is exciting, at first. There's a rush when you pick up a book, enroll in a course, or start exploring a subject you're curious about. But that excitement rarely lasts forever. At some point, the novelty wears off. The material gets harder. The effort required increases. And that's when most people quit. Why? Because real learning isn't always fun. It's often difficult, repetitive, and at times, frustrating. It requires focus, patience, and the willingness to be wrong before you're right. It means sitting with discomfort, asking questions, and admitting that you don't know everything. Most people aren't against learning, they just want it to be easy. They want results without effort, growth without struggle, success without sacrifice. But that's not how it works. If you want to learn daily and make progress over time, you must accept this reality: learning is work. And like all meaningful work, it takes discipline, not just desire. The comfort trap: scrolling, binging, and complaining. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. Social media, streaming services, endless notifications, these things are designed to keep your attention, not help you grow. And they're incredibly effective. When faced with the choice between doing something hard, like reading a challenging book or practicing a skill, and doing something easy, like scrolling through Instagram or watching another episode, most people choose comfort. Every single time. And it's not just laziness, it's human nature. Our brains are wired to conserve energy and seek immediate pleasure. That's why we reach for the phone instead of the textbook, the snack instead of the gym, the complaint instead of the solution. But here's the problem: comfort kills growth. You can't improve your mind while numbing it with distractions. You can't build skills while wasting hours on passive entertainment. You can't solve problems while constantly complaining about them. Real progress comes from choosing discomfort over ease. From facing challenges head-on instead of escaping into distraction. From taking action instead of waiting for motivation to show up. That's what separates the few who grow from the many who stagnate. Discipline is rare, that's what makes it powerful. Let's be honest, most people don't lack knowledge. They have access to more information than any generation in history. They know what they should do: read more, watch less, study consistently, invest in themselves. But knowing isn't enough. Everyone knows what they should do. Few actually do it. Because discipline, not knowledge, is what creates results. Discipline is showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's sticking to your plan even when it's inconvenient. It's doing the work even when no one is watching. And that's exactly why discipline is rare. It's hard. It goes against our natural tendencies. It demands consistency, which most people are unwilling to give. But if you can develop discipline, even in small ways, you immediately separate yourself from the majority. You become part of the small group of people who actually follow through. Who actually change their lives. Who actually succeed. Because discipline beats motivation every time. Breaking the cycle, how to start learning daily. So how do you avoid falling into the same trap as everyone else? Start by understanding that the reason most people don't learn daily isn't because they can't, it's because they haven't built the habit yet. Here's how to begin. 1. Start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with big goals. Commit to just 10 to 15 minutes of focused learning each day. A few pages of a book. 1 online lesson. 10 minutes of journaling or reflection. Small actions add up over time. 2. Make it a habit. Attach learning to something you already do daily. For example, read while you drink your morning coffee. Listen to an educational podcast during your commute. Review what you learned before bed. Consistency builds momentum. 3. Remove distractions. Create boundaries around your learning time. Turn off notifications. Put your phone away. Set a timer. Make it harder to fall back into old habits by designing your environment for success. 4. Focus on progress, not perfection. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up, just get back on track the next day. Growth happens over time, not in one perfect streak. 5. Remember your why. Ask yourself regularly, why am I doing this? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want to become? Keeping your purpose in mind will help you push through moments of doubt and discomfort. Don't be like most people. Most people don't learn daily because it's hard. Because it's uncomfortable. Because there are easier, more entertaining things to do. And that's exactly why most people stay stuck. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose discipline over distraction. Growth over complacency. Action over excuses. You can decide that your future is worth the effort, even when the present feels inconvenient. Because the truth is simple, if you want to rise above the average, you have to do what the average person won't. And that starts with learning every single day. Chapter 4, What You Should Be Learning. Stop chasing trends. Focus on timeless skills, communication, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, financial literacy, and problem solving. These are what actually build real success. The trap of chasing trends. In today's fast-moving world, it's easy to get caught up in the latest trends. One day, everyone is talking about cryptocurrency, the next, it's AI tools or NFTs. Social media influencers make it seem like the key to success is jumping on the newest wave before anyone else does. But here's the truth, chasing trends is exhausting, and often ineffective. By the time you've learned one hot topic, the world has moved on to something else. And if your learning strategy is based solely on what's popular right now, you'll always be playing catch-up. Instead of trying to keep up with every new fad, focus on what lasts. Invest your time and energy in skills that have value across decades, not just months. Skills that don't become obsolete when the next big thing comes along. Because while trends come and go, mastery of core competencies never goes out of style. Timeless skill number 1, communication. Communication is the foundation of nearly every human interaction. Whether you're speaking to a client, writing an email, pitching an idea, or resolving a conflict, how well you communicate determines how effectively you can influence, persuade, and connect with others. Good communication isn't just about speaking clearly, it's also about listening actively, understanding context, and adapting your message to your audience. It includes both verbal and written expression, body language, tone, and clarity of thought. People who communicate well tend to rise faster in their careers, build stronger relationships, and solve problems more efficiently. That's why improving your communication skills is one of the best investments you can make, no matter your field or background. So read books on rhetoric and persuasion. Practice public speaking. Write regularly. Learn how to structure your thoughts and deliver them with confidence. These are habits that compound over time and open doors you didn't even know existed. Timeless skill number 2, critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to analyze information objectively, question assumptions, and make reasoned decisions. In a world flooded with misinformation, clickbait, and conflicting opinions, this skill is more important than ever. It's easy to accept what we see at face value, especially when it aligns with our existing beliefs. But real thinkers don't just absorb information, they evaluate it. They ask questions like, where did this information come from? What evidence supports it? Is there another way to interpret this? Critical thinkers are less likely to be manipulated, more capable of solving complex problems, and better equipped to navigate uncertainty. They don't just follow the crowd, they think for themselves. To sharpen your critical thinking, challenge yourself daily. Read opposing viewpoints. Debate ideas respectfully. Reflect on your own biases. Ask why more often. The goal isn't to always be right, it's to always be learning. Timeless skill number 3, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and respond to the emotions of others. While IQ might help you get hired, EQ is what helps you get promoted. Why? Because people with high EQ are better at teamwork, leadership, conflict resolution, and stress management. They know how to stay calm under pressure, handle difficult conversations, and motivate those around them. Unlike technical skills, which can be taught in a classroom, emotional intelligence develops through self-awareness, reflection, and practice. It's about knowing yourself, regulating your reactions, and connecting authentically with others. Start by paying attention to your emotions throughout the day. Journal about how you feel and why. Practice empathy by putting yourself in others' shoes. Learn how to pause before reacting. Over time, you'll notice how much more control you have over your life, and how much deeper your relationships become. Timeless skill number 4, financial literacy. Money may not buy happiness, but understanding how money works can certainly reduce stress and increase freedom. Yet, shockingly, many people enter adulthood without basic knowledge of personal finance. Financial literacy includes understanding income, expenses, budgeting, saving, investing, credit, and debt. It's about making informed decisions that allow you to live within your means, plan for the future, and avoid common financial traps. Unfortunately, most schools don't teach these things, so it's up to you to learn them. And the earlier you start, the better off you'll be. Read books on personal finance. Listen to podcasts about investing. Follow smart money strategies. Build good habits like tracking expenses, saving consistently, and avoiding unnecessary debt. Even small steps, like setting up an emergency fund or automating monthly savings, can set you on a path toward long-term security. Remember, wealth is built slowly, over time. And financial freedom begins with education. Timeless skill number 5, problem solving. At its core, life is a series of problems to solve. From minor annoyances to major career decisions, the ability to identify issues and develop effective solutions is essential for success. Problem solving is not just about finding answers, it's about asking the right questions, breaking down complexity, and testing different approaches. It's about resilience, creativity, and adaptability. Strong problem solvers don't panic when things go wrong, they look for opportunities and challenges. They experiment, iterate, and adjust course when needed. They embrace failure as part of the process rather than a reason to quit. To improve your problem-solving skills, practice tackling small challenges every day. Think through real-life situations logically. Seek feedback. Try puzzles or brain games. Most importantly, reflect on past mistakes and extract lessons from them. Every time you solve a problem, you're building mental muscle that will serve you for years to come. Master the core, then go deeper. You don't need to chase every trend or learn every new tool to succeed. What you do need is a strong foundation of timeless skills that apply across any industry, role, or stage of life. These 5 skills, communication, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, financial literacy, and problem solving, are the pillars of real, lasting success. When you invest in them daily, you build a toolkit that no algorithm or economic shift can take away. So stop worrying about what's trending today. Start focusing on what will still matter tomorrow. Because the future belongs to those who prepare for it, not those who simply react to it. And the best preparation is learning what truly lasts. Chapter 5: How to Make Learning a Daily Habit. Set a minimum, 1 book page, 1 podcast episode, 10 minutes of focused reading. Do it at the same time every day. Make it non-negotiable. No more Sundays. Start today. Why daily learning matters more than you think. Learning is like compound interest. It doesn't make a dramatic difference in a single day, but over months and years, its impact becomes undeniable. The person who reads just 1 page a day will finish a 365-page book in a year. The person who listens to 1 educational podcast per day will absorb dozens of hours of valuable knowledge. And the person who spends 10 minutes reflecting on what they've learned each night will gradually build wisdom far beyond their years. But here's the catch: consistency matters more than intensity. It's not about how much you learn in one sitting, it's about showing up regularly and doing something, no matter how small. That's why making learning a daily habit is the most powerful decision you can make for your long-term success. Start small, really small. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to build a learning habit is setting the bar too high. They commit to reading 50 pages a day, listening to 2 podcasts, or taking a full online course, all while working, parenting, or managing life's other demands. And within a week, they burn out. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for sustainability. Set a minimum standard so low that there's almost no excuse not to do it. For example, read 1 page of a meaningful book. Listen to 1 short podcast episode, or even just a segment. Spend 10 minutes focused on learning, whether it's reading, watching a video, or journaling. These micro-actions may seem trivial, but they serve a crucial purpose: they keep the chain unbroken. Once you start building momentum, you'll often find yourself going beyond the minimum without even trying. Remember, doing a little is better than doing nothing. And once you're in the habit of doing something, doing more becomes easier. Anchor your learning to a daily routine. Habits stick best when they're tied to something you already do automatically. That's why anchoring your learning habit to an existing routine is one of the most effective ways to make it last. Here are some examples. Morning, read 1 page or listen to a podcast while drinking your morning coffee or eating breakfast. Commuting, use travel time to listen to educational content instead of scrolling mindlessly. Lunch break, take 10 to 15 minutes to read or watch a short lesson. Before bed, reflect on what you learned that day and write down 1 takeaway. By attaching your learning habit to a daily event, you remove the need for motivation. You don't have to decide whether to learn, you simply follow your routine. And over time, this routine becomes automatic. What once felt forced now feels natural. Make it non-negotiable. There's a big difference between wanting to learn and committing to learn. Most people say they want to learn more, but only those who treat it as a non-negotiable part of their day actually do. Think of learning like brushing your teeth. You don't wake up and ask yourself, "Do I feel like brushing my teeth today?" You just do it. It's not optional. It's part of your hygiene. Your daily learning should be treated the same way. Decide in advance when and how you'll learn each day, and protect that time fiercely. Don't let meetings, distractions, or fatigue push it aside. If something comes up, adjust the format but never skip entirely. If you can't read, listen. If you can't listen, reflect. Just keep moving forward. Because once you allow exceptions, you open the door to inconsistency. And inconsistency kills habits. No more someday thinking. We all know someone who says things like, "I'll start learning when I get more time. I'll read that book next month. I'll take that course when I'm less busy." But the truth is, time rarely opens up magically. Life doesn't pause to give you space to grow. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll probably still be waiting a year from now. There will always be reasons not to start. But there's only ever one reason to begin. Today. You don't need ideal conditions to start learning, you just need to start. Once you accept that, you stop waiting and start doing. And that shift alone puts you ahead of most people. Tools to help you stay consistent. Building a daily learning habit doesn't have to be hard. In fact, with the right tools and mindset, it can become one of the easiest parts of your day. Here are a few practical tips to help you stay consistent. 1. Use a reading tracker. Keep a simple notebook or app where you log each day's learning. Seeing a streak builds motivation and accountability. 2. Schedule learning time. Treat your learning like any important appointment. Block off 10 to 15 minutes on your calendar and honor it. 3. Create a learning space. Designate a quiet corner or chair where you go to learn daily. A dedicated space signals your brain that it's time to focus. 4. Prepare ahead. Have your book, podcast, or course materials ready the night before. Remove friction by making it easy to get started. 5. Track progress monthly. At the end of each month, review what you've learned. This helps reinforce retention and gives you a sense of accomplishment. Start today, even if it's just one page. There's no perfect way to start learning daily. There's only starting. So pick up that book, even if it's just one page. Press play on that podcast, even if you only have 10 minutes. Open your notes and write down one thing you learned today. Make it small. Make it easy. Make it consistent. Because the power of learning isn't in doing a lot at once, it's in doing a little every day. And that's how real growth happens. Not with grand plans or dramatic resolutions. With daily choices. Choose to learn. Every day. Starting today. Chapter 6, The Truth About Motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline doesn't. You won't feel like learning every day. Too bad. Show up anyway. Consistency beats intensity. Always. The myth of waiting to feel like it. We've all been there. You buy a new book with high hopes. You download an inspiring podcast. You set a goal to learn something meaningful every day. And for the first few days, you're fired up. You read late into the night. You listen to episode after episode. You take notes, highlight quotes, and tell yourself this is finally the time it's going to stick. Then comes day 4. You're tired from work. Your phone buzzes with notifications. A new show catches your eye. Suddenly, the idea of learning feels like a chore. So you skip a day. Then another. And just like that, the habit is gone. What happened? You relied on motivation, and motivation left you behind. This is the trap so many fall into, believing that they need to feel motivated before they act. But here's the truth, motivation is not a reliable fuel source. It's fickle. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you'll feel like learning, most days, you won't. And that's exactly why you can't wait for it. Motivation fades, discipline doesn't. Let's be clear, motivation is not the enemy. In fact, it's a great starting point. It gives you energy. It sparks action. It gets you off the couch and into the game. But it's not enough to keep you going. Discipline is what keeps you showing up when motivation disappears. Discipline is what gets you reading even when you're tired. It's what makes you choose growth over comfort, even when no one is watching. Motivation says, I feel inspired today, I'll do a lot. Discipline says, I don't feel like it today, but I'll still do a little. And that small but powerful difference is what separates those who make lasting progress from those who stay stuck in cycles of excitement and disappointment. Because let's face it, no one feels like learning every single day. not even the most successful people. They just know that waiting for the perfect mood or moment is a losing strategy. So instead of chasing motivation, they build systems, routines, habits, structures that allow them to keep moving forward even when their emotions say otherwise. Show up anyway, even when you don't feel like it. There will be days when learning feels easy and rewarding. There will also be days when it feels like a grind. You might be stressed, distracted, overwhelmed, tired, uninspired. On those days, the temptation will be strong to skip, to rest, to binge watch something mindless instead. That's normal. But if you want to grow, if you want to become someone who learns daily and improves steadily, you must resist that temptation. Because greatness isn't built on how you feel, it's built on how you act. Think of it like this: every time you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen your ability to follow through. Every time you sit down to read even 5 pages when you don't feel like it, you reinforce the identity of someone who learns daily. And over time, that identity becomes unshakable. Consistency beats intensity, always. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to do too much at once. They go all in for a few days, burn out quickly, and then give up entirely. They think that learning has to be intense to be effective, that if they're not fully immersed, it's not worth doing. But real progress doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. Would you rather read 20 pages in one day and then skip the next 3? Or read just 5 pages every single day? The second option wins every time. Why? Because consistency builds momentum. It creates rhythm. It turns learning from an occasional activity into a way of life. It's not about how much you do in one session. It's about how often you show up. That's the secret. That's the power. When you commit to learning daily, even when it's small, you're building a habit that compounds over time. One page becomes a chapter. One lesson becomes a skill. One decision becomes a lifestyle. And that kind of growth cannot be rushed. It can only be earned. How to build discipline when motivation isn't enough. Discipline may sound strict, but it's not punishment. It's freedom in disguise. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the cycle of starting and quitting. Here are a few practical ways to build discipline and make it easier to show up, even when you don't feel like it. 1. Create a learning ritual. Make learning part of your routine. Tie it to something you already do daily, like having coffee, commuting, or winding down before bed. Turn it into a ritual, not a task. 2. Set a minimum standard. Define what showing up looks like. It could be reading 1 page, listening to 5 minutes of a podcast, or writing 1 sentence in your journal. As long as you meet your minimum, you win. 3. Track your progress. Use a calendar, app, or notebook to mark each day you complete your learning habit. Seeing a streak builds accountability and pride. 4. Remove obstacles ahead of time. Have your book open. Have your podcast queued up. Keep your journal nearby. Make it as easy as possible to start. 5. Focus on identity, not just goals. Instead of saying, "I want to read more," say, "I am a person who reads daily." Shift your mindset from what you want to achieve to who you want to become. Stop waiting. Start learning. Even when you don't feel like it. Motivation is fleeting. Discipline is forever. You won't always feel like learning, and that's okay. The goal isn't to feel inspired every day. The goal is to keep going, regardless. Because real growth doesn't happen when you're excited. It happens when you're tired, distracted, and tempted to quit, but you choose to learn anyway. That's when you change. That's when you grow. That's when you succeed. So stop waiting for the perfect mood. Stop waiting for inspiration. Stop waiting for someday. Start today. Even if you don't feel like it. Chapter 7. Your environment shapes your learning. Surround yourself with learners. Get rid of distractions. Remove toxic influences. If your environment doesn't support growth, you won't grow. You are the average of your environment. There's an old saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It may sound dramatic, but it's true. The people around you shape your mindset, habits, and beliefs more than you realize. If you're surrounded by complainers, procrastinators, or people who avoid learning, you'll likely fall into those patterns too, even if you don't want to. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with curious, disciplined, growth-oriented individuals, their energy becomes contagious. You start thinking bigger, working harder, and learning more, just by being around them. Your environment is not just where you live, it's what you absorb every day. And if it doesn't support your goals, it's quietly holding you back. So if you want to become someone who learns daily and grows constantly, you must take control of your environment. Because you can't outwork a bad environment forever. Surround yourself with learners. People often believe they can change their habits while keeping everything else the same. But real change rarely happens in isolation. It thrives when supported by others who are doing the same thing. If you want to build a daily learning habit, seek out people who already have it. Join book clubs. Find online communities. Follow thought leaders. Attend workshops or seminars. Surround yourself with individuals who value knowledge, growth, and self-improvement. Even if you can't physically be around them every day, consume their content, listen to their podcasts, read their books, and engage with their ideas. Their influence will help keep you on track when your own motivation fades. Remember, you don't need permission to learn. But you do need the right company to make it last. Get rid of distractions that steal your focus. One of the biggest obstacles to daily learning isn't lack of time, it's lack of focus. And distractions are everywhere. Your phone buzzes constantly. Social media pulls you in with endless scrolling. Notifications interrupt deep work. Background noise drowns out concentration. These things might seem harmless, but over time, they erode your ability to focus, retain information, and think deeply. They train your brain to crave instant gratification instead of delayed reward. To truly learn, you must create space for quiet, uninterrupted focus. That means turning off notifications during learning time, putting your phone away or using apps like Forest or Freedom to block distracting websites, designating a specific place where you go to learn, ideally quiet and free from interruptions, setting clear boundaries with friends, family, or coworkers so they know when you're unavailable. The goal isn't to eliminate all fun or leisure, but to protect your learning time from unnecessary interference. Because distraction kills progress. Slowly. Quietly. Consistently. Remove toxic influences that drag you down. Some people actively discourage growth. They roll their eyes at your goals. They mock your efforts. They say things like, "Why are you always reading? You're taking this too seriously. You'll never succeed anyway." These comments may come from people who care about you, but still hold limiting beliefs. And if you let their words affect you, you'll begin to doubt yourself. Toxic influences don't always shout, they often whisper. They plant seeds of doubt. They normalize mediocrity. They make you feel guilty for wanting more. That's why it's essential to distance yourself from negativity, not necessarily by cutting people out of your life, but by limiting their access to your mind. Be selective about who you spend time with. Choose relationships that challenge you, encourage you, and push you forward. Let go of those that drain your energy and reinforce bad habits. Because your environment should lift you up, not drag you down. Design an environment that supports daily learning. Creating a growth-supportive environment isn't something that happens by accident. It requires intention, awareness, and effort. Here's how to design your world to support daily learning. 1. Create a learning space. Set up a dedicated corner or room where you go to learn each day. Keep it clean, organized, and stocked with books, notebooks, headphones, or whatever helps you focus. 2. Stock your life with learning tools. Keep a book on your nightstand. Download educational podcasts on your phone. Use browser bookmarks to save useful articles. Make learning resources easily accessible. 3. Follow growth-oriented role models. Listen to interviews with lifelong learners. Read biographies of successful people. Follow thinkers, writers, and creators who inspire you to improve. 4. Join communities that share your goals. Whether online or offline, find groups of people who are also committed to learning. Accountability partners, study groups, and discussion forums can keep you motivated and engaged. 5. Track and reflect on your progress. Keep a journal or tracker where you note what you've learned each day. This reinforces the habit and gives you a visual reminder of your growth. Build a world that supports your growth. You cannot outperform your environment forever. No matter how strong your willpower, if your surroundings don't support learning, you'll eventually fall back into old patterns. But if you intentionally build an environment filled with learners, free from distractions, and supportive of growth, you give yourself the best chance to succeed. Because great learning doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens in a space that encourages curiosity, rewards discipline, and celebrates growth. So stop blaming yourself for not staying consistent. Start changing your environment instead. Because when your world supports your goals become easier to reach. And that's how you turn daily learning into lifelong success. Chapter 8. Track your progress or waste your time. If you don't track what you learn, you'll forget it. Use journals, notes, summaries, or apps. Review regularly. Growth requires reflection. Don't just read, absorb. Learning without tracking is like eating without digesting. Imagine this: you sit down to a big, nutritious meal. You eat slowly, savoring every bite. Then, without chewing properly or swallowing, you walk away, never giving your body a chance to absorb the nutrients. That's what happens when you consume knowledge without tracking or reflecting on it. You might think you're learning. But if you don't actively process and store what you've absorbed, it slips through the cracks of your mind like sand through your fingers. Real learning isn't just about exposure, it's about retention, understanding, and application. And none of those happen by accident. They happen when you take deliberate steps to track and reflect on your progress. Why most people forget what they learn? Here's a hard truth: most people forget the vast majority of what they read, watch, or listen to, especially when they consume it passively. Think about the last book you read. Can you clearly explain its main ideas? How about the podcast you listened to last week? The article you bookmarked to revisit later? Chances are, much of it is already fading from your memory. This is known as the forgetting curve, a psychological phenomenon discovered by Hermann Ebbinghaus. It shows that without reinforcement, we forget up to 75% of new information within just 6 days. So if you want to truly benefit from what you learn, you must fight against this natural tendency. And the best way to do that is by tracking your learning and reviewing it regularly. Track your learning with journals, notes, and summaries. Tracking doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be consistent. Here are some simple, effective ways to record and reinforce what you learn. 1. Keep a learning journal. Dedicate a notebook or digital document to daily reflections. At the end of each learning session, write down one key idea you learned, how it connects to what you already know, how you can apply it in real life. This practice turns passive learning into active thinking and makes ideas stick. 2. Take smart notes. Instead of highlighting entire paragraphs or taking endless bullet points, focus on summarizing complex ideas in your own words. Ask yourself, what is the core message? Why does this matter? How would I explain this to someone else? The act of paraphrasing forces deeper understanding. 3. Create summary sheets. After finishing a book, course, or article, write a one-page summary of the most important lessons. Include key takeaways, actionable insights, questions it raised for you. These summaries become powerful reference tools you can revisit months or years later. 4. Use digital tools. There are many apps designed to help you organize and review what you learn. Notion, build a personal knowledge base. Evernote, save and categorize useful content. Obsidian, create interconnected notes for deep learning. Anki, use spaced repetition flashcards for memorization. Find a system that works for you, and stick with it. Review regularly, don't let knowledge fade away. Tracking alone isn't enough. You also need to revisit what you've recorded. This is where most people fall short. They take notes once and never look at them again, letting all that effort go to waste. To truly internalize what you learn, schedule regular review sessions. Daily, reflect briefly on what you learned that day. Weekly, review your notes and summarize the week's key lessons. Monthly, go back over your journal entries or summaries to spot patterns and connections. This kind of spaced review dramatically improves long-term retention and helps you connect ideas across different topics. It's not about rereading everything word for word, it's about reinforcing meaning and making knowledge actionable. Growth requires reflection, not just consumption. Many people confuse activity with progress. They read a lot, listen to dozens of podcasts, and attend countless webinars, but never pause to reflect on what it all means. But real growth doesn't come from how much you consume. It comes from how deeply you think about what you've learned. Reflection allows you to see patterns in your thinking, identify gaps in understanding, make better decisions based on past experiences, adjust your learning path to stay aligned with your goals. Without reflection, you're just collecting information. With it, you're building wisdom. So ask yourself, what did I learn today? How does this challenge or support my current beliefs? What will I do differently tomorrow because of this? These questions turn learning into action, and action into transformation. Don't just read, absorb, apply, and act. Reading a book won't change your life. Watching a video won't make you an expert. Listening to a podcast won't suddenly make you successful. What changes lives is applying what you learn, consistently, deliberately, and with intention. Tracking your progress helps you remember what matters. Reviewing it keeps it fresh in your mind. Reflecting on it pushes you toward action. And action, real, repeated, intentional action, is what separates learners from doers. So stop measuring your growth by how much you consume. Start measuring it by how much you understand, retain, and apply. Because the goal isn't just to learn more. The goal is to become better every single day. Track it or lose it. If you don't track what you learn, you'll forget it. That's just how the brain works. But when you start recording your learning journey, through notes, journals, summaries, and reviews, you create a powerful feedback loop that reinforces growth and accelerates progress. You begin to see learning not as something you do occasionally, but as something you build upon daily. And that's how you move from simply reading, to truly growing. So don't just learn. Track it. Reflect on it. Apply it. Make it yours. Because if you don't, if you only consume without capturing, then you're not educating yourself. You're just wasting time. Chapter 9, Apply or Die. Knowledge without action is useless. Apply what you learn immediately. Test ideas. Experiment. Fail fast. Improve faster. Otherwise, you're just collecting information. Information is not transformation. You've probably had this experience before. You finish reading an inspiring book. You listen to a powerful podcast. You take notes, highlight quotes, and feel motivated. For a day or two, you carry that energy with you. Then life gets busy. The notes sit untouched. The lessons fade. And soon, you're back where you started, with no real change in your habits, mindset, or results. This is one of the most common, and dangerous, traps in self-education, believing that knowing something is the same as doing something. But it's not. Knowledge alone doesn't change your life. Application does. Because until you take action, all that learning remains theoretical. Useless. Trapped in your head instead of expressed through your behavior. And if you don't act on what you learn, you're not growing, you're just collecting data. Apply what you learn immediately. One of the most effective ways to avoid falling into the trap of passive learning is to apply what you learn as soon as possible. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't save it for later. Act now. Even if it's small. Even if you're not sure how it will turn out. Because real learning happens when you move from theory to practice. Here's how to do it. 1. Ask yourself, what can I do differently tomorrow? After every learning session, ask, how can I use this right away? Maybe it's a communication tip you can try in a meeting. A habit you can start implementing. A mindset shift you can apply to a challenge. Don't let the idea die in your notebook, bring it to life through action. 2. Turn ideas into experiments. Instead of waiting for certainty, treat new knowledge like a scientist. Try it out. See what works. Adjust based on results. For example, read a book on productivity. Test one technique for a week. Listen to a leadership podcast. Practice one principle in your next team interaction. Learn a financial strategy. Apply it to your budget this month. This kind of hands-on learning builds understanding far better than passive consumption ever could. 3. Set micro-challenges. Give yourself short-term goals to force action. Examples. Apply one lesson from today's reading by tonight. Try a new approach at work tomorrow. Teach someone else what you learned today. Explaining it forces clarity and reinforces your own understanding. Small actions compound into big results. Test ideas, don't just believe them. Not every piece of advice you come across will work perfectly for you. That's okay. The point isn't to follow everything blindly, it's to test, adapt, and discover what actually works in your life. Many people fall into the trap of treating every expert opinion as gospel. They read a single article and completely overhaul their routine. Then, when it doesn't work, they quit, or worse, lose faith in learning altogether. But real learners don't believe everything they read, they question it. They test it. They experiment. That's how you find what truly works for you, not just for someone else. So don't just absorb information. Challenge it. Try it. See what sticks. Fail fast. Improve faster. Let's be honest, not every experiment will succeed. Some ideas won't fit your personality, lifestyle, or goals. Some strategies will fail. Some experiments will make you look clumsy or inexperienced. And that's okay. Because failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. The key is to fail fast, so you can improve faster. When you apply what you learn quickly, even imperfectly, you get feedback sooner. You learn what works and what doesn't. You adjust your course and move forward with more clarity. Waiting for perfection means waiting forever. But action, even messy action, gives you momentum. So embrace the messiness. Make mistakes. Learn from them. And keep going. Because the person who tries and fails 10 times learns far more than the one who waits for the perfect plan. Otherwise, you're just collecting information. There's a difference between being informed and being transformed. Being informed feels good. It gives you confidence. It makes you sound smart in conversations. It feeds your ego. But transformation is harder. It takes effort. It takes courage. It takes consistency. And it starts with doing something with what you know. If you want to grow, if you want to improve your career, relationships, health, or mindset, you must stop hoarding knowledge and start using it. Because knowledge locked away in your head doesn't help anyone, not even you. Only knowledge that moves into action creates real change. So stop collecting information. Start applying it. Every single day. Learning without doing is wasting time. Reading books, listening to podcasts, watching courses, these are valuable tools. But only if you use them. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. Learning without application is wasted time. So make it a rule, never learn anything without asking, how can I use this now? Because the goal isn't to become a walking encyclopedia of ideas. The goal is to become a better version of yourself, through what you learn and what you do with it. Apply or die. It's not dramatic. It's the truth. Chapter 10. Build your personal curriculum. Don't follow random advice. Create your own learning path based on your goals. Pick books, courses, mentors, and resources that align with where you want to go, not where everyone else is going. Stop learning randomly, start learning with purpose. If you've ever spent an evening scrolling through YouTube, hopping from one podcast recommendation to another, or collecting unread books on your shelf, you know what it feels like to learn without direction. You're absorbing information, but not growing. You're consuming content, but not improving. You're busy learning, but not making progress. That's what happens when you follow random advice instead of building a focused, intentional learning strategy. You end up overwhelmed, unfocused, and stuck in what we'll call the paralysis of choice. Because here's the truth. Learning without purpose is just entertainment. And if you want real, lasting growth, you need more than scattered bits of knowledge, you need a plan. You need a personal curriculum. What is a personal curriculum? A personal curriculum is not something assigned to you by a school or employer. It's not dictated by trends or social media algorithms. It's not about chasing whatever looks popular at the moment. Instead, it's a self-designed roadmap for lifelong learning, one that reflects your unique goals, interests, and ambitions. It answers the question, what do I need to learn today to become who I want to be tomorrow? When you build your own curriculum, you take control of your education. You stop wasting time on irrelevant advice. You stop getting distracted by shiny new ideas. You stop chasing what everyone else is doing, and start investing in what will actually move your life forward. Step 1. Define your goals. The foundation of any strong learning plan is a clear set of goals. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve in the next year? What skills do I need to develop? What kind of person do I want to become? What problems do I want to solve? Your goals don't have to be perfect or final, they just need to give you direction. Once you have them, they become your filter for deciding what to learn next. For example, if your goal is to become a better leader, focus on books about communication, influence, and decision-making. If you want to grow your business, invest in marketing, sales, and systems thinking. If you want to improve your health, study nutrition, mindset, and habit formation. Your goals shape your learning priorities and help you say no to everything that doesn't serve them. Step 2. Select the right resources. Once you know where you're headed, it's time to choose the right tools to get there. Here's how to build a powerful, personalized resource list. Books. Choose 3 to 5 foundational books in your area of focus. These should be timeless, well-reviewed, and highly recommended by experts in the field. Example. Want to master habits? Read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Want to understand leadership? Read Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Want to improve financial literacy? Read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Podcasts and videos. Find creators who consistently deliver high-quality, actionable content. Follow a few regularly rather than trying to keep up with dozens. Look for shows that feature expert interviews, offer practical insights, challenge your thinking. Online courses. Platforms like Coursera, Udemy, Skillshare, and LinkedIn Learning offer structured learning experiences. Choose courses that directly support your goals. Look for practical assignments, real-world examples, opportunities to apply what you learn, mentors and role models. Learn from people who've already done what you want to do. Study their journeys, read their biographies, listen to their interviews, and follow their work. If possible, reach out. Ask questions. Seek guidance. A single conversation with the right person can save you years of trial and error. Journals and articles. Subscribe to newsletters, blogs, and publications that provide consistent value in your field. Avoid generic news feeds, curate your own. Step 3. schedule your learning. Having great resources is only half the battle. The other half is showing up to use them. So create a simple, repeatable schedule that makes daily learning inevitable. Here's how. Time blocking. Set a specific time each day for learning. For example, morning, read while having coffee. Commute, listen to a podcast. Evening, review notes or journal about what you learned. Stick to this time like it's a meeting with your future self. Batching. Group related topics together. For example, dedicate Mondays to leadership development, Wednesdays to skill building, and Fridays to reviewing progress. This helps you stay focused and deepen your understanding over time. Progress tracking. Use a planner, app, or notebook to track what you learn each day. At the end of the week, review your notes and ask, what did I learn? What worked? What needs improvement? This reflection turns passive learning into active growth. Step 4. Stay flexible, not rigid. Building your own curriculum doesn't mean locking yourself into a rigid plan forever. In fact, the best learners are also the most adaptable. They revisit their goals regularly. They update their resources. They experiment with new formats and methods. Stay open to change. If a book isn't helping, put it down and pick up another. If a course isn't delivering results, switch to a different platform. If a mentor no longer inspires you, find someone new. Your curriculum is a living document. It grows with you. Stop following the crowd, start designing your own path. Most people learn randomly. They consume whatever comes across their feed. They chase trends. They follow whoever shouts the loudest. But real learners are different. They think ahead. They plan strategically. They design their own path. They don't rely on luck or chance to grow, they build a system that ensures they keep moving forward, even when motivation fades. So stop letting others decide what you should learn. Take ownership of your education. Create your own curriculum. And commit to learning what matters to you and to the life you're building. Because the future belongs to those who prepare for it, not those who simply react to it. And the best preparation is learning with purpose. Chapter 11, The Cost of Ignorance. Failing to educate yourself leads to poor decisions, wasted time, broken relationships, and regret. Ignorance is expensive. Pay the price with effort now, or with pain later. Ignorance isn't just not knowing, it's living with the consequences. Ignorance is often mistaken for simply not knowing something. But it's more than that. Ignorance is making uninformed choices that lead to unnecessary suffering. It's repeating the same mistakes because you never took the time to learn from them. It's allowing your life to be shaped by forces you don't understand, because you didn't invest in understanding them. And the cost? It shows up in every area of life. In your career. In your finances. In your health. In your relationships. Because ignorance doesn't just mean missing out on opportunities, it means paying a higher price down the line for not having learned earlier. You can choose to pay the price with effort now, through daily learning and self-education. Or you can pay it with pain later, through regret, struggle, and missed potential. There is no third option. The financial cost of ignorance. One of the most obvious places where ignorance hurts is in personal finance. People who don't take the time to learn about budgeting, saving, investing, and debt management often find themselves trapped in financial stress, even if they earn a decent income. They make impulsive purchases. They carry high-interest debt. They fail to plan for emergencies or retirement. And when crisis hits, a job loss, a medical emergency, an unexpected expense, they have nothing to fall back on. Meanwhile, someone who spent just 10 to 15 minutes a day reading about personal finance could have avoided these pitfalls. They would understand compound interest. They'd know how to build wealth slowly and safely. They'd be prepared, not perfect, but prepared. Ignorance in this area doesn't just limit your options, it limits your freedom. Because financial freedom begins with financial education. And that education doesn't come from luck or inheritance. It comes from daily learning. The emotional cost of ignorance. Beyond money, ignorance also takes a heavy emotional toll. Think about how many people struggle with anxiety, frustration, or low self-esteem, not because they're flawed, but because they lack knowledge in key areas like communication, emotional intelligence, or mindset. They don't understand how to manage conflict, so their relationships suffer. They don't know how to regulate their emotions, so they feel overwhelmed. They believe limiting myths about success, so they give up before they even begin. This kind of ignorance creates inner turmoil. You feel stuck. You feel frustrated. You feel like you're doing everything right, but still not getting anywhere. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is simply that you haven't learned what you need to learn yet? That's the beauty of self-education. It gives you the tools to understand yourself better, relate to others more effectively, and navigate life with more clarity and confidence. And that kind of knowledge changes lives, not just financially, but emotionally. The relational cost of ignorance. How many friendships, partnerships, and professional collaborations have been ruined by a simple lack of understanding? Someone misinterprets a message. Another fails to listen actively. A third reacts emotionally instead of thinking clearly. These small breakdowns in communication often snowball into major conflicts. Why? Because they never invested in learning how to communicate better. They never read about empathy. Never studied active listening. Never worked on emotional intelligence. So they repeat the same patterns, misunderstandings, arguments, broken trust, without realizing that growth was always within reach. All it would have taken was a book, a podcast, a course, a conversation with someone wiser. But instead, they paid the price in broken relationships, isolation, and loneliness. And that's one of the highest costs of all. The career cost of ignorance. In today's fast-changing world, careers are not built solely on experience or formal education. They're built on continuous learning. Those who stop learning after school rarely rise beyond average. Their skills become outdated. Their value plateaus. They get replaced by younger, hungrier, more adaptable workers, or by technology itself. On the other hand, those who keep learning stay relevant. They adapt quickly. They solve problems creatively. They move up faster, not because they were lucky, but because they kept improving. Ignorance in your career doesn't just mean staying in the same job. It means losing opportunities. It means being passed over for promotions. It means watching others move ahead while you remain stuck. And again, the difference between those who grow and those who stagnate often comes down to just one thing: daily learning. The regret that comes too late. Perhaps the saddest cost of all is regret. Regret for not starting sooner. For wasting time on distractions. For believing that learning wasn't urgent until it became unavoidable. You meet people who say, "I wish I had started investing earlier. I wish I had learned how to communicate better before my marriage failed. I wish I had taken care of my health before it was too late." These aren't just stories. They're warnings. And they don't have to be yours. Because the moment you realize the cost of ignorance is the moment you can choose a different path. A path where you pay the price with effort now, so you avoid the pain later. Choose to learn before life forces you to. Ignorance is expensive. There's no way around it. It costs you money. It costs you time. It costs you relationships. It costs you peace of mind. And worst of all, it costs you opportunities you may never get back. You can ignore this truth for a while. You can convince yourself that you'll learn when you have to. But by then, it might already be too late. Instead, start learning today, not because you have to, but because you want to protect your future. Make the investment now, while the cost is small. Read a page. Listen to a podcast. Reflect on a lesson. Just do something. Because the alternative is letting life teach you the hard way. And that's a lesson most people only learn too late. Chapter 12, Teach Others or Stay Average. The best way to learn is to teach. Share what you learn. Explain it simply. Help others grow, and you'll grow faster than you ever imagined. Learning is good. Teaching is better. Most people think of learning as something they do for themselves, reading books, watching videos, taking courses. And while all of that is valuable, there's one step that takes learning to the next level. Teaching. Because when you try to explain what you've learned to someone else, you quickly discover how much you truly understand, and how much you still need to figure out. In fact, one of the most powerful principles in education is known as the Feynman technique, named after Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman. It works like this. Learn a concept. Try to explain it in simple terms. Identify gaps in your understanding. Review and simplify until it makes sense. This process doesn't just help you retain information, it forces you to master it. So if you want to move beyond surface-level knowledge and build real expertise, start teaching what you learn. Because the moment you try to explain something clearly to someone else, you become a better learner yourself. Why most people stay at an average level of understanding? Here's a hard truth: most people stop learning once they feel good enough. They read a book and think they understand it. They listen to a podcast and nod along. They take notes, but never revisit them. They absorb ideas but never test them. And because they don't teach, they never truly master what they learn. They stay at an average level of understanding. But the people who rise above average, they don't just consume, they share. They don't just read, they explain. They don't just watch, they discuss. They turn passive learning into active teaching. And in doing so, they deepen their own knowledge, improve their communication skills, and gain clarity they never had before. Because you can't fake understanding when you're trying to teach someone else. You either know it, or you don't. And if you don't, teaching forces you to go back and learn it properly. How teaching others accelerates your own growth. There are several ways that teaching supercharges your learning. 1. It forces you to organize your thoughts. When you try to explain something to someone else, you have to structure your thoughts logically. This helps you see connections between ideas and understand the bigger picture. 2. It reveals gaps in your knowledge. You might think you understand a topic until you try to break it down for someone else. Then you realize there are parts you didn't fully grasp. That's not failure, that's feedback. 3. It builds communication skills. Being able to explain complex ideas in simple language is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Whether you're giving a presentation, pitching an idea, or having a conversation, strong communication skills set you apart. 4. It reinforces long-term memory. Studies show that people remember more of what they teach than what they merely read or hear. The act of explaining cements knowledge in your mind. 5. It creates accountability. When you commit to teaching someone, even informally, you're more likely to follow through on your own learning. If you know you'll be sharing what you learn tomorrow, you'll take today's learning seriously. You don't have to be an expert to teach. One of the biggest myths about teaching is that you need to be an expert first. That's not true. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to help someone else learn. In fact, some of the most effective teachers are those who are just slightly ahead of the people they're teaching. Think about it. Who would you rather learn from? Someone who's been doing something for years and forgets what it was like to be a beginner? Or someone who recently learned it and remembers exactly what confused them and how they figured it out? The second person is often a better teacher, because they speak the same language as the learner. So don't wait until you feel ready or perfect. Start teaching now, while you're still learning. Because that's when your insights are freshest and your explanations are clearest. Ways to start teaching what you learned today. You don't need a classroom or a degree to start teaching. Here are some simple, practical ways to begin sharing what you learn. 1. Talk about it. Explain what you learned today to a friend, coworker, or family member. Use simple language. Make it relatable. Turn a lesson into a conversation. 2. Write it down. Start a journal where you summarize what you learn each day. Or write short posts on social media, LinkedIn, or a personal blog. Writing forces clarity, and gives you a record of your progress. 3. Record a voice note or video. Use your phone to record a short explanation of what you learned. Listen to it later. Improve it. Refine your message. You don't have to publish it, just practicing improves your thinking. 4. Join a study group or discussion forum. Find others who are learning similar things and talk about it together. Ask questions. Challenge assumptions. Build understanding through dialogue. 5. Mentor someone. Even if you're still learning, you probably know something someone else doesn't. Offer to help a friend, colleague, or younger version of yourself with something you've recently learned. Teaching multiplies your learning. If you want to stay average, keep learning for yourself. But if you want to grow faster, go deeper, and make a real impact, start teaching. Because teaching isn't just about helping others. It's about pushing yourself further than you would on your own. It's about turning knowledge into wisdom. It's about building skills that last. And it's about creating value, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. So don't just learn. Share what you learn. Don't just read. Explain what you read. Don't just grow. Help others grow too. Because the fastest way to rise above average is to lift others up while you climb. And that starts with teaching. Chapter 13, this is not a book, it's a wake-up call. This book isn't about impressing anyone. It's about waking up to the fact that your future depends on what you do daily. If you're serious about success, make education your religion. This was never about finishing the book. If you've made it this far, you should be proud. But don't let that pride fool you into thinking you've accomplished something just by reading these words. Finishing a book is not an achievement. It's a beginning. Because knowledge only becomes power when you act on it. And this book was never meant to sit on a shelf or collect digital dust in your e-reader. It was meant to ignite a shift. A shift in how you see learning. A shift in how you spend your time. A shift in how you build your future. This book is not entertainment. It's not a checklist item. It's not a status symbol. It's a wake-up call. And now, the real work begins. Your future depends on what you do daily. Let's be brutally honest. No one is going to hand you success. No degree, no mentor, no podcast, no miracle moment will suddenly transform your life unless you put in the daily work. Success is not built in one big leap, it's built in small, consistent actions repeated over time. It's the person who reads one page every night while others scroll mindlessly. It's the person who listens to a podcast during their commute instead of zoning out. It's the person who writes down one lesson every day and builds a library of wisdom over years. That's the difference. That's the edge. That's the habit that changes lives. Because the truth is simple, your daily habits shape your destiny. You are not defined by what you want to happen. You are defined by what you do every single day. So ask yourself, what kind of future are your daily choices building? Are you investing in growth, or wasting time on distractions? Are you educating yourself, or letting life teach you the hard way? Are you preparing for success, or hoping it finds you? The answers matter. Because your future is already being written, one choice at a time. Make education your religion. This book has given you a roadmap. A framework. A philosophy. But none of it matters if you don't commit. So here's the challenge. Treat learning like it's sacred. Make it non-negotiable. Make it part of who you are. Because if you want long-term success, if you want to grow, improve, and thrive in every area of life, you must treat education not as a hobby, but as a religion. That means showing up daily, even when you don't feel like it. Protecting your learning time like it's your most valuable asset. Eliminating distractions that pull you away from growth. Tracking progress, reflecting regularly, and adjusting course. Teaching others, so you deepen your own understanding. It means living with purpose. With intention. With discipline. Because real learners don't wait for motivation. They don't follow trends. They don't rely on luck. They build systems. They create habits. They take action. And they never stop learning. Don't go back to sleep. You picked up this book because something inside you knew it was time to change. Maybe you were tired of feeling stuck. Maybe you were frustrated with slow progress. Maybe you realized that the way you've been living wasn't leading where you want to go. Whatever brought you here, don't let it fade. Don't close this chapter and return to old patterns. Don't fall back into complacency. Because if you do, nothing will change. But if you take even one idea from this book and live by it, if you start reading daily, tracking your learning, teaching others, you'll begin to move forward. And once you start moving, momentum takes over. Once you start growing, there's no going back. The choice is yours. This book ends here, but your journey doesn't. In fact, it's just getting started. You now know what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. You understand why most people fail to learn daily, and how you can avoid that trap. You have a clear plan, a personal curriculum, and a reason to keep going. Now, all that remains is action. So here's your final wake-up call. Will you continue wasting time on distractions? Or will you start investing in the version of yourself that you've always wanted to become? Will you settle for average? Or will you commit to lifelong learning, and let it shape the life you deserve? The choice is yours. And your future is watching. Keep going. No one cares if you stop learning. No one will remind you. No one will push you. But if you keep going when others quit, you'll be the only one left standing. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. You've read the words. You've absorbed the ideas. You've seen the path clearly laid out before you. Now comes the hardest, and most important, part. Doing something about it. Because knowledge without action changes nothing. Motivation fades. Inspiration comes and goes. But discipline, the quiet, consistent act of showing up day after day, is what builds real, lasting success. And that kind of success doesn't happen overnight. It happens in the quiet moments. In the early mornings when you choose learning over sleep. In the evenings when you say no to distractions and yes to growth. In the days when you don't feel like it, but do it anyway. That's where your future is being built. Not in grand gestures. Not in dramatic declarations. But in the small, daily choices you make when no one is watching. No one will remind you, so build a system that does. Let's be honest, no one is going to check in on your progress. No one will send you a reminder to read, reflect, or grow. The world doesn't care if you stop learning, it moves on with or without you. That's why you need more than good intentions. You need a system. A daily habit. A non-negotiable routine. A reason to keep going even when no one else notices. Because discipline isn't about feeling motivated. It's about making learning part of your identity. When you see yourself as someone who learns every single day, not because they have to, but because that's who they are, you stop needing external motivation. You become the force that drives your own growth. And that's when real change begins. The power of showing up when others quit. Most people start strong. They buy books. They download courses. They set goals. They're excited. They're committed. For a few days. Then life gets busy. Distractions creep in. Motivation fades. And just like that, they stop. They don't fail because they weren't capable. They fail because they didn't keep going. But here's the secret. Success doesn't go to the smartest or the most talented. It goes to the most consistent. It goes to the ones who keep learning when everyone else gives up. It goes to the ones who show up, even when progress feels slow, even when results take time, even when no one is cheering them on. If you want to rise above the average, all you have to do is keep going a little longer than everyone else. Just one more page. One more lesson. One more day. That's how you win. Your daily habit is your superpower. You now know the truth. Learning is not a one-time event, it's a daily habit. Education ends at graduation. Real learning starts after. Most people don't learn daily because it's hard. That's why most people stay stuck. Success comes from timeless skills, not trends. Discipline beats motivation every time. Your environment shapes your habits, so design it carefully. If you don't track your progress, you'll forget it. Knowledge without action is useless. Build your own curriculum. Don't follow the crowd. Ignorance is expensive, pay the price with effort now or pain later. The best way to learn is to teach. And this book was never about impressing anyone, it was about waking up. Now, the only thing left is to live by these truths. Make learning your foundation. Build your future on it. Let it shape everything you do. Because when you commit to educating yourself every single day, you build a life that no one can take away from you. A life of growth. Of freedom. Of purpose. Of success. Start today, and never stop. There will always be reasons not to learn. You'll be tired. You'll be busy. You'll feel distracted. You'll convince yourself there's no time. But the truth is, there's always time. There's always a moment. There's always a choice. And yours starts today. Start small. Start now. Just begin. And once you begin, never stop. Because the person who keeps going when others quit, that's the person who wins. That's the person who grows. That's the person who succeeds. That's who you can become. All you have to do is keep going. This book was written for people who are tired of excuses, overwhelmed by options, and ready to take control of their growth. Education isn't sexy. It's not flashy. But it works every damn time. Start today. Even small steps compound into massive results.